When Oklahoma repealed Common Core state standards for education, it left the state without a replacement that is considered college and career ready. And it caused the U.S. Department of Education to refuse to give Oklahoma a waiver from the requirements of the No Child Left Behind law, with immediate effects on public schools. State education officials are now determining which districts and schools will see some federal funds redirected away from students.
When the decision from the Federal Department of Education came down, the finger-pointing began, following along party lines. Attorney General Scott Pruitt threatened another lawsuit, saying it would appear in this case the Obama administration has exceeded its authority under the law, and my office will continue our examination of the best manner in which the state will respond. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Representative Joe Dorman responded, saying Indiana, which also repealed Common Core, had its waiver extended. Unlike Oklahoma, its state board of education actually worked towards standards fulfilling the necessary criteria. Losing our waiver was entirely preventable. Governor Mary Fallin laid the blame on President Obama, stating, "This is one more example of an out-of-control presidency that places a politicized Washington agenda over the well-being of Oklahoma students." And House Democratic leader Representative Scott Inman placed fault on state government. "We warned the Republicans against moving forward hastily on this issue without fully considering all of the potential ramifications. As a result, Oklahoma schools are in danger of being taken over by the federal government." But the House co-author of the Common Core repeal law, State Representative Jason Nelson, sees the waiver loss as much ado about nothing.
In terms of what practically is going to change here as a result of that, I think is not a big deal. I think not much is changing. There is no loss of money. They're not even required the set aside of the 20% of the Title I funds for use by parents to do the tutoring that we talked about. So I think it's really a non-event event.
Oklahoma Education Association President Linda Hampton views it differently.
I think any time that you say that you are going to have $30 million that are already in a budget that are going to have to be redirected this year, and then consider the fact that we operate in Oklahoma on a budget that is $200 million less than what we had in 2008. So $30 million is a big deal.
While Oklahoma was given a year's grace period before 20% of the Title I federal funds that go to low-performing schools must be spent the way the federal government wants, there is another $30 million that will be redirected now. Title I schools have to redirect 10% of that federal money toward teacher improvement, and school districts have to do the same thing. Because that $30 million was largely being used to pay teacher salaries, the real impact on public education will be felt soon.
It allowed them to do things like hire teachers, and we're having a teacher shortage right now, and this has helped alleviate some of that. It's helped us to keep class sizes smaller. And all this is now going to be subject to change.
A concern that is shared by Amber England, Executive Director of Stand for Children Oklahoma, a 501c3 and C4 organization that allows them to support education issues and at the same time raise money to provide independent campaign expenditures on behalf of political candidates.
So we're concerned that many districts across the state are going to see layoffs of teachers. These schools could actually be turned over to the state, could become for-profit charter schools. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that losing the waiver, what that means.
If the state is still waiverless and working on new standards when the grace period expires, another $30 million will be diverted, and Hampton believes some of it will go to higher for-profit education businesses.
They will certainly have an opportunity to get it. And part of our concern is that Oklahoma's children's education should not be for sale.
While the impact of losing the waiver is still becoming clear for school districts, the Regents for Higher Education have put a review process in place to determine if the old past standards that will temporarily replace Common Core are really college and career ready. In a written statement, Angela Cadell, the Regents' Vice Chancellor for Communications, says the state regents have assembled groups of campus subject matter experts with experience in developing and reviewing English and math standards to complete a thorough and efficient review of the K-12 pass standards. The statement says the review will be thorough, and the goal is to complete the review process and present a final report to the state regents for consideration and approval at their October 16th meeting. Outgoing State Superintendent Janet Barisi does not think the past standards will meet the requirements.
I think this state needs to step away from those standards that were clearly not productive and not giving us the results we needed. I think we need to write new standards.
Oklahoma City Public Schools may see nearly $4 million in federal funds that had gone to help students in low-performing schools redirected to teacher improvement. Currently, just under 40% of Oklahoma high school graduates who go on to higher education require remediation to get them ready for college.